And I want to talk about books and reading, because I've noticed over the last few decades people are reading less. And especially in some countries, they're hardly reading at all. And traditionally, reading has been one of the most important activities of human society. So now today we're all about sound bites and 2-minute videos and Facebook and Instagram and this and that. And it's wearing away a little bit our desire to read. So I think it's important to just talk about reading, and also because Srila Prabhupada's books are sometimes what some people feel are a little more academic than entertaining, that sometimes it's hard for devotees to spend a lot of time reading them. So we just want to talk about the importance of reading. I'm going to read some quotes from people who glorify their own experience with books, and then I want to relate that to Prabhupada's books to hopefully give you more of an insight of what you can expect from Srila Prabhupada's books. So the first quote is from Mark Twain. He said, "A person who doesn't read is no different than a person who can't read." So the idea of reading, obviously, is it opens your world up. You can learn about millions of things that you don't have experience of. And especially the Bhagavatam is telling us about things in different universes. So there's no way we can have experience of that. It's telling us about transcendental experience beyond this universe. So much is available to us in the Bhagavatam. But if we don't read, then we're kind of like a person who can't read, really no difference. So I thought that was an important quote. The next quote, I don't know this person, his name is Orhan Pamuk. He said, I read a book one day, and I read a book one day and my whole life was changed. So you don't need to learn a lot to change your life, but you learn one thing, that one thing can change your life. And there are so many things in Prabhupada's books that can change our life. And another thing that's very important, this was said by an actor named Will Smith. He said, whatever problem you have, someone has written a book to solve that problem. And we say, whatever problem you have, it's been answered in Srila Prabhupada's books. Oftentimes devotees will say, I had a problem, I just opened one of Prabhupada's books, and miraculously what I was reading was addressing that problem. I just had this experience last week. I was thinking about an issue, a problem that affects all of us. And that problem is when we get a position, sometimes it goes to our head, and sometimes we mistreat others. And then I opened up the Bhagavatam, and there's a story about Daksha. And Daksha was given a high position, and it went to his head, and he misused it, and he offended somebody. So right there, the very problem I'm meditating on, it's right there in the Bhagavatam. So books can solve problems. Books can change life. If you read an 800-page book and you only get one idea out of it, but that one idea changed your life, certainly it was worth taking the time to read those 800 pages, no doubt. Now, there's something else about Prabhupada's books and all transcendental literature, which is different than ordinary mundane literature or ordinary literature that we read, fiction or nonfiction. The sound vibration is purifying. So even if you don't completely understand, or even in some cases you may not understand it at all because it's so esoteric and transcendental, you're reading this, you have no experience of it. It's relations between Krishna and his devotees, and this is all new to you. Prabhupada was asked, what do we do when we don't understand it? And he said, systematically read it. Just keep reading through it. Because the reading, the hearing, the sound vibration is purifying. And by that purification, gradually you're going to start to understand. There's another thing also. If we read something we don't understand, one thing we understand is that we don't understand it. What do I mean? We understand that there's a reality that I don't understand. So it makes us aware of a dimension of knowledge or a dimension of reality that I don't understand, but I've been introduced to it in the book. Let's read another quote. When I only begin to read, I forget I am on the world. It lifts me on wings with high thoughts. So what to speak of Prabhupada's books? one of the things we experience in reading transcendental literature is it takes us out of this world. And I have an experience, a very vivid experience, and a drastic experience, and a profound experience. I was going through a very, very difficult time, maybe one of the most difficult times in my life, and a lot of anxiety. I wouldn't call it depression, but let's say I was very unhappy or very overwhelmed by a situation around me where I lost something which was very dear to me, so I was very unhappy. You could call it depressed, not clinically depressed. And I distinctly remember when I was absorbed in hearing either a lecture or absorbed in reading Prabhupada's books, I completely forgot. I completely forgot my experience, my misery, my unhappiness. It was like it didn't even exist. So when we're reading transcendental literature, it's taking us to another place, which is beyond the material, what we call the three modes of nature, is way beyond that. So the thing I like about these quotes is that the same is true for ordinary books. They'll take you to places, but the question is, do you want to go to that place? They'll change your life. The question is, do your life want to be changed the way they want to change you? The last thing is by an author named James Maxwell. Some of you may know him. He used to be a pastor. Now he's like a leadership guru, but very principled. And he said, books changed my life. Books changed the way I think. Books change the way I feel. And I get to intimately associate with the author. And many people have said that when you read, you go into the mind and heart of the author. And Prabhupada said, if you want to know me, read my books. And one time Prabhupada was asked by a reporter, what's going to happen to your movement when you die? And he said, I will never die. I will live eternally in my books. And Prabhupada used to say, the real association with the spiritual master is not the physical, but the vani. Vani means words. So you associate through the instruction, and you associate through executing that instruction. So all of us can associate with Srila Prabhupada in his books. Prabhupada, when he gave us the books of other acaryas, other gurus, he said, when you're reading those books, you're personally associating with them. So you enter the heart and mind and soul of the author. And Prabhupada is also, in his purports, putting in the commentaries of other acaryas, other gurus. So you're entering the heart and mind and way of thinking of these very, very elevated souls. So what better heart, mind, and consciousness to enter into these great acaryas, these great devotees, these great spiritual masters. So we should never underestimate the power of reading, especially the power of reading transcendental books.